Hi everyone, I'm Isabella and this is Andrea, and I'm going to be interviewing her for my Discourse community project.
Hi, I'm Andrea. I'm a first year here at UNM and my major is biology.
And what Discourse community do we share?
Hispanic Discourse community.
And as a member of the Hispanic Discourse community, what are some things that define the
You
community?
can go as far as your dress attire, what you wear, culturally the food. It's pretty distinct from other cultures or just American in general. Maybe the language you speak, which is typically Spanish. It could be Castilian. There's all sorts of dialects, but all of those things kind of brought together define the Hispanic community.
And what kind of foods, what kind of clothing?
It's definitely loose, flowy skirts and dresses, and for women, and then for men, it's normally more formal attire, and it's very colorful. The more colorful, the more culturally distinct, I guess you would say it is. And then as far as food goes, there's tamales, there's pozole, there's menudo, just a bunch of different meals. Pozole is like a soup that you have this kind of corn item with and you boil it and it becomes a soup. It's kind of like the main base of the soup, and you can put things like radishes, meat, cheese, red chili, sour cream, anything in there that you want, and you can make it your own. And then tamales, it's like masa, so you get a corn husk, and masa is a consistency, it's kind of like dough. Maybe
It's like corn flour
and dough, and you paste it on the corn husk, and then you can either make green chili or red chili tamales. The green chili ones, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's just green chili, and then you could probably put meat.
And what aspects of the Hispanic Discourse community do you incorporate into your lifestyle, and which do you choose not to include or include less often?
So it can kind of go two routes. There's not really anything I deliberately choose not to include, but some things like speaking Spanish more often, I typically try to only speak to my grandparents. And I'm not really sure why. It's actually something pretty distinct about me personally, but I usually talk to them in Spanish, and then when I'm in public, I don't really, I kind of get scared just because it's not I don't feel as at home. And then I wouldn't say there's any reason behind it besides just not being raised that way. I didn't really have to speak in public because I was raised speaking Spanish and English.
I know you brought up that you don't like to speak Spanish in public as much, which kind of leads me into my next question, which is what biases do you face, if any, when people find out that you belong to the Hispanic Discourse community?
Okay, so that's actually a big one. The biggest bias I face is my complexion. I have light eyes, my hair is light brown, which doesn't really say much, but then my skin looks almost pretty much white. And so growing up in the Hispanic community, especially not knowing Spanish as well as people who can fluently speak and confidently speak, I'm very much looked at as somebody who doesn't really represent the Mexican or Mexicana culture, and that has actually been a struggle my entire life. People don't really think I am Hispanic. When I say I am, they don't believe me. If you saw my parents, you would very much know, but even my mom, she's very güerita. That's slang for just somebody who is light complected. Because of my complexion, they're very persistent on expressing to me that I'm not Hispanic, and it's simply because of my skin color. So.
And how has being Hispanic impacted your life for the better?
For the better, most definitely that's where I came from. It's my family, it's my heritage. So knowing more about that, becoming more proud of who I am, where I'm from, and just owning it regardless of the cultural biases. So definitely growing up, my parents have educated me more. Even classes, knowing about my culture and going back home, maybe talking about it a little bit longer. I can get more information from my parents, and they definitely elaborate and explain more about where I'm from, and just little things here and there so that I can educate myself better. And there are mishaps here and there, like I explained earlier, but overall getting to know my culture, where I came from, my family, all that stuff, and digging deeper into it and the diversity within that culture, it's never really impacted me in a negative way. In fact, it's grown my knowledge and appreciation for it.
And what parts of your heritage are you most proud of?
How my my people came here, how just the struggles that they have. You know, I'm sure most of you guys are aware of like just immigration, just making the time or taking the time and making the effort to make a better life for your family. And that goes for all cultures. My family immigrated from there, and it was for me, it was for my life and my siblings that they did that. And so to know that my parents went above and beyond to come here and to overcome the obstacles leading like within that, it just makes me appreciate not only my privilege living in America, but also just the effort that they did and like how they overcame any obstacle and how they left such a beautiful culture, and how they preserve it here. So while it's like disappointing that they're not in their own country, they're taking every possible aspect and bringing it to my home, and I get to appreciate it in a country where I do have more privilege and where I can pursue, you know, the things that I want to pursue.
Yeah. And is there anything that you want people who aren't Hispanic to know?
Right. I think the most important thing is just what I explained earlier, like the bias. And I don't want to focus on just people who aren't Hispanic, but I want to focus on the people who aren't educated, that aren't Hispanic, and that assume things. Just for you guys to be educated, that it's not hard to understand. It's a simple Google search. I would really recommend knowing the difference between ethnicity and race, too. That's a huge thing. And it honestly will help not only you understand better, but it'll probably help you not affect people the way I've been affected growing up. And I think that's a big thing that we can avoid if we just educated ourselves, which is, again, not that difficult to do.
And it's not even just like Hispanic, like all cultures.
All cultures, yeah, for sure.
Is there anything that like separates like the overall Hispanic community with like the feminine view of the Hispanic community?
Yeah, so that's another stereotype actually within our culture. Women are very much looked at as the caretakers of the house, and that is awesome. You know, like I am above and beyond proud to have that honor of like being entrusted to be a caretaker. However, one big thing, especially amongst my brother and my male cousins, if we're all in a gathering, the biggest thing that me and my female cousins and my sisters are expected to do is to clean up right away after we've had a family meal, or to take care of the smaller nephews and nieces, or to clean up in the kitchen. And it's typically while the male part of my family is out doing something or having a beer. It's definitely something that I hope to see change soon or enough. Because I think it's definitely a part of the culture that doesn't really represent anything other than just what's evolved in it.
It doesn't help. It doesn't serve a purpose
At all.
Yeah.
And it's very much implemented with just like the history of where we came from. And
So I think we're gonna end it there. But thank you for letting me interview you,
Yes,
Andrea.
ma'am.